Hi. Today I'm going to show you a few more things. Obviously, I really appreciate everybody signing up. The response has been awesome. So I have big plans for this. They're already working out very well. Stuff from like the lighting in the background. I took pictures down from the background because they were like glaring. I got a new light. It's way too bright. It's like this halogen like work light thing. It didn't work out right. It was too bright. Yes, main thing. I appreciate everyone signing up. The response is awesome, and I will work to keep improving the lighting, the way the video looks, and everything like that. It's never going to be like Hollywood razzle dazzle with special effects. You don't need that. I don't want to do that. I don't like videos that are like that. And the content is what matters, but I want it to be visually as good as possible too. But anyways, so today I'm going to show a few things from staggered stance. So typically when if I'm starting to work with somebody in martial arts or whatever, okay, so what's your fighting stance? I say, all right, so stand square and take a step forward. Okay, raise your arms up, swing it down a little bit. There's your fighting stance. Okay, maybe you're more this way, maybe you're more whatever. That's not a bad place to start. You take a step forward, you raise your arms up, and you're down a little bit. Because you take the step forward, that heel is already up, and that way you're not like taking, I don't step like this, and I don't, right? It's real simple. You take a step forward, you raise your arms up, you sink down a little bit. That's not a bad fighting stance. You can close it up. There's all sorts of them, right? But that's not a bad place to start. That's where we're starting today with the kettlebell. So take your kettlebell, have it in front of you, and then once you take a step forward, it's even with your front foot. When you bend down, it's okay. See, my arms aren't going down straight, okay? My shoulders, my shoulders and arms. It's okay to turn a little bit. See, this arm just reaches towards about the wrist. It's real natural. So my spine does stay pretty, it stays neutral, and my shoulders are above my hips. So from the side, let's do that. So kettlebell's in front. I take a natural step forward, reach down to get the bell. From there, maybe I'll turn my leg out, make whatever adjustments you need to make. But then I'm going to hike the bell back and then clean it. When I clean it, I'm going to sink back. So now this foot, this heel on my opposite side leg that's coming up, this now is on my hip. So the bone is resting on the bone. Then I'm going to twist, not in my spine, but at the hips again, to press the bell up. You should feel might be stretching through here, and the bell goes up. Make sure your arm rather goes to your ear. A common thing is to just go out to this way, but make sure it ends up going straight up. Then on the way down, when you lower it, you chamber it back to where you were, and then when you go forward, it's this way. Okay, from the front. Now, why do this? Why was I talking about the fighting stance and then how to do this kind of clean and press? Well, I believe it can give you extra power and balance from that stance, right? It makes sense. You're swinging the kettlebell around, you're moving the weight around while you're in that position. So what's your opponent do? They're moving your weight around, they're pushing you around in that position. Okay. It's something to consider, okay? If you're, I don't want to get too deep into that. There's like a thing about trying to say some things are too sport specific. Think of it for what it is, but maybe just, I'll let you think about how that can affect your fighting stance, your fighting power, your fighting endurance, your breathing, when to, see, it seems like that. You know, you're moving around, right? So other hand from the front. So take that natural step forward. I'm leaning down. So my left heel, if you can see it, it's not just straight forward, right? We don't walk like that anyway. We don't walk like that. When we take this step forward, it naturally is going to, you can see my heel pop up a little bit, right? And it comes in. That's weird. It comes in naturally. So, bell's in front. We take our natural step forward, lean down to get the bell. It's okay. You do not want the shoulders parallel with the ground. They're kind of like pointed at the ground a little bit. So clean, back, press. If it's not comfortable to get to this position where the elbow is on the hip, don't do it. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. It might be more comfortable like this way. But the idea is to kind of like get some of that like spinal engine power, working with the hips. Okay. So that's the way up, turning. So notice my shoulders and hips are always pretty in the line. I'm starting to turn this way. I'm turning at the hips, not the spine. Okay, we don't want to grind our vertebrae up. They can turn a little bit. So okay. So it feels pretty natural for me to get that. That's what you do when you're striking. Your spine moves laterally, and typically when you have a weight in your hand, it's not so good to like twist your spine, rotate your spine, and then lift. Like I'm not like if I was to keep my hips forward, turn my shoulders to the side, and pick something up, that can be dangerous for the spine. So we're not doing that. We're the shoulders and the hips move together, and you can move you can have lateral flexion of the spine when you're squared up that way. All right. So then 1 foot forward, it looks like this. All right. So from the front, other hand, like it back. So this is the other way where my elbow is not on my hip. It doesn't feel quite as right to me, but maybe it's better for you for whatever reason. And it's okay. It's not like there's anything wrong with it or bad. I just come to this hip. It's this resting position. It's just bone on bone, rather than holding myself up with my muscles. So maybe it's better sometimes to do that. Be able to do both, basically. But just really think about why. Makes sense? So same thing from the side again. I'll do it without putting the elbow to my hip. So this is my elbow to my hip. This is more like upright, more like what you usually see when people are lifting, like kettlebell, like sports style. A lot of kettlebell guys, they have this here, this rest position, and so it's good to know what you're looking at, like what are you doing and why, which style are you using and why. So if something hurts, don't do it. Do it feels like more comfortable, but make sure you just want it to flow. So this one, I won't put my elbow down to my hip, and I'll show you from the side. Okay, goes in front. Just a natural step forward. Reach down, like that one shoulder naturally drops more. my head, I'm looking at the bell. I hike it back. Once I get my arm to my groin, then I lift the bell with my hips. And that's the way, see? This way. It's already there. So once you're here, you just go to stand up. That's the natural place for it to be. See how I'm at this angle? That was the same angle that I started at to grab the bell. Okay. If that hurts your back, then that's not the one for you. So I'll show how to correct that and to do the one where you don't do the hip now again. Maybe I'm a little bit more square this time if I don't want to do that. Okay, make it your own. Trust me, you want to follow the directions. But if like this hurts, I can do it this way, and it doesn't hurt, then that's the better way for you. Without being able to see everyone, then it's hard for me to say exactly what you should do because your technique might look a little different. So this way is not putting my elbow to my hip. Okay. So notice that my heels are, when one goes down, the other one's coming up. Okay. If it feels weird at first, which it very well may, just do the clean. So I'm going to do my left arm, my right steps forward to the bell. Heel comes in a little bit. Okay. You can kind of get used to this. Okay. See how my hips and shoulders stay lined up? Okay, to my hip, elbow to my hip. Elbow not to my hip. And then press. So elbows not to my hip. Elbow to hip. Okay, see the difference? I'm sure you can. So this is that'll be the only press that we do today. I'm going to show you another technique from the staggered stance. So one, which is probably the first level of what I could have shown before, is just the one arm deadlift, but I'm going to show you two variations and then with two kettlebells, the same two variations. So again, just my natural step forward, that makes this heel come in. So I'm going to keep both knees pointed forward. And now my shoulders are pretty well squared up and then I'm going to push up. Okay, that right heel stays up rather, sorry. Okay. Okay, at the top, you want to walk out your glutes and abs. You want to squeeze it pretty tight. You want to make sure your shoulder doesn't come forward. This one's, make sure everything is nice and tight. Shoulders packed, abs contracted, glutes contracted. So it's okay to be bent forward a little bit. Tilted a little bit. Your right arm leading the way if you're grabbing it with the right. Okay. That way. So this is mostly my left leg right now. that's working. My right leg is working too. But it's mostly this left leg doing the work. The other variation of that is with both heels down, but now my foot is turned out even more. Okay, so when I'm doing that one, maybe my heel starts out a little bit angled, and then maybe when I'm on my way down, I want that to be pretty well lined up. Okay, it can move around a little bit naturally. If you feel any torque in your knee, figure out why. If you're feeling torque in your knee, adjust your technique. Do it without the kettlebell. Do it with a lighter weight. You should not feel torque in the knee. One way you might feel torque in the knee is, okay, so if my foot's exaggerated, pointed this way. Okay, and then if I'm trying to bring my knee forward, you see that? That puts a lot of pressure on these ligaments, a lot of tension, too much tension on these ligaments. There's no muscle to support it really. It's just all ligament holding that together. That's not what we want. Okay, so if we're going this way and we can't have that kind of angle. So if that heel is up, my right knee needs to be pointed towards the same direction. If the heel is out a little bit, or in a little bit rather, that's okay. That knee can come out a little bit too. I'm showing you kind of a continuum of technique here. So the technique is pretty much straight on. It's okay if it's out a little bit. That's really more natural, and that's more in line with the main idea that we started with. Then we'll do another one where this foot is out more at a 45-degree angle or more. I'm keeping my heel down and I'm lifting to the front. Okay, so my shoulders and hips are still pointing towards the front. When I lower the weight and raise the weight, my knee stays over my ankle. I can't have my knee coming in and be torquing on it. I have to have my knee over my ankle, okay? So you see the difference here? This is both legs are working. I'm driving into the ground with both. Okay, so it's like, if one foot's right in front of the other, that foot just steps out. Your angle might be a little different than mine. That's okay. Everybody has different levers. Their ball and sockets are at different angles. So if matching my angle exactly doesn't feel right to you, find one that does work. But you do need the knee over your ankle. It cannot be twisting. You can't have your foot pointed one way and your knee going the other. 2 kettlebells. So this one's similar to, if you ever seen like some stone lifters, there's something called the Denny stones, and in Scotland and there's Ireland. Sorry, one of those. I should know. I had one of the few guys that have lifted them on my podcast, and his dad I think was the first to lift them. Anyways, with the Denny stones, you have one in front and one in back. And they're these rings, these small steel rings, thin steel rings to lift each stone. This one's kind of like that, but what we'll do, same thing, the bells are about even. You take that step, and now you're past them, and this right leg, this right foot is out at the angle. Okay. So see that knee is coming the same way? So from the other side, your kettlebells can be different sizes. It's good to play around holding 2 different weights in each hand. It helps you build more stability. And a lot of times people don't have all the pairs of all the weights all the way up. So work with what you have. And in a lot of our real life situations, it's not always balanced when we're lifting something, carrying something, grappling. There's a lot of awkward angles that we might get into. So the foot goes forward. This knee is coming this way. So my foot's that way, my knee is pointing in the same direction. I'm pushing through both heels and my whole foot really, but this one's different than the other where on the other one the heel comes up. This one, the heel stays down. Okay. And now, just like the first one we did, where the knee is going straight forward, just like in our stance, our knees to our first step forward. And then we'll be into more of this split squat position where I'll show you from the other angle, but like watch my knee position, my right knee especially. So my right heel is up. So I'm doing that one. My right heel is still up. So just look at that angle. Okay. My right heel is up the whole time. My left leg is doing most of the work, but my left leg is doing most of the work, but my right leg is working too. Okay. And of course, do the same amount each side. Okay. Your angles can be a little bit different than mine. Just remember, you do not want your foot going one way and your knee coming in another way. You'll hurt yourself. If any of them hurt, don't do it. Find your variation, but most people should be able to get the difference between this one and this one. Okay? And the staggered stance. So I've showed over the course of, this is now the 4th video, I've showed quite a bit of pressing techniques. And I'm going to show you a rowing technique. So a lot of you are probably familiar with, you can do it with dumbbells or whatever. But what I've been liking to do lately is set the timer and do one and then the other. I've been doing it with clients. They've been liking it. So like one arm and then the other. So this stance is going to be, we're kind of like in this. It can be pretty square. You can start off pretty square because you're going to be switching arms each rep. So let's take a nice wide stance. I'm lifting with my left arm. My right arm is braced. My left elbow is braced really hard on my leg. Okay. And I lift up. Okay. Key point is keep my shoulder driven towards my hip. My lats are already on. I'm going to squeeze tight and so I can go up close to my body. Okay. And I can also go away from it. Okay. So my angle is either like this or out. You can play around with the angles. All of them, you want the shoulder driven towards the hip. So I'll lean over. I'm bracing really strong here because you don't want your lower back to start taking the weight of this. So having this brace here keeps it nice and safe. And the other side. Other side. Let's try this angle. Now let's try this angle. I wonder what palm forward is like. Oh, that's different. Okay. Palm forward. Okay, palm forward. Palms back. 45-degree angle. Play with that a little bit. Okay. With clients, I've been setting the timer for like 3 minutes. Okay, it doesn't mean you can't stand up in between, but key point is even though you're bracing, you still want to keep your back neutral. It's just a good habit. Stronger, safer. It's stronger and safer. Okay, so my palm is out. My palm is back towards me. 45-degree angle. Neutral. And then I will supinate, making my palm go forward, away from me. Okay. You'll feel the muscles work a little bit differently. Just tune into that. Okay. Now I said so I do one and one. The reason why, you can learn how to control your fatigue and go for the 3 minutes, the 2 minutes, whatever it is that you're doing. And you learn how to control your breathing, moving from one safe position to the next relatively quickly. Also, if you want to do 2 reps, I'm not gonna come after you if I find out you're doing 2 reps each side before you switch. I will allow it. Okay. So, but the idea with setting the timer is you have controlled fatigue, and that's going to come in handy for a lot of the things that you do. If you're a grappler, if you're any kind of like martial artist, if you don't already know about controlled fatigue, you will. So a lot of times if you just go out and you start your match, you just get everything you have, and 30 seconds later, huffing and puffing. The other guy, he wasn't trying too hard. You can start getting picked apart by somebody that's not as good as you because they have better conditioning or they know how to control their fatigue better. Okay. So with the programming in that, so I said you can do however long the sets you want. I like the 1 rep each arm, keep going. And one of the reasons why I like timed sets for clients is because if you have, especially when you're teaching larger groups, which I usually just, if it's lifting stuff, it's usually just a couple people at a time, 1 or 2 people at a time right now. But when I was teaching larger classes, if I would say, okay, you're going to do 4 sets of 5 or 5 sets of 5, people get done at different times. Okay, everybody's at a different. They're all they might be in the same class, but they're all in their own world, doing their thing. Okay, so all right, well, so I started doing more and more time sets, so people could keep track and themselves like, okay, I did this many times with this weight. Next time I'm going to try for more. I think I can go for the next weight. And I didn't have to do the impossible job of keeping track of everybody's reps all at the same time. You just can't. So that's a good strategy for trainers to use if you're not already doing it. It works out really well. I like doing that. And not just as a way to get through a class, but as a way to, it's kind of like work with where you are today. Okay, so sometimes like we were training martial arts today, and my buddy comes in. He just got done with a class. It was like a cardio class where he teaches CrossFit and weightlifting and stuff. And he's like, he knew he was going to go to the gym, and he looks at it, and it's like a half-hour cardio workout. Like, he's like, I didn't want to, but I did it anyway. And you know, just did it anyway. But a lot of times we get into these states and we all hit there like, I don't really feel like going to the gym, but I'm going to go anyway and get the stuff done. It's that consistency. It's overriding that inclination to just say, forget about it. I'm just going to go watch TV. It's that mental strength. And it's like, okay, I don't have to do more than I've ever done before because this is what the program that's written in stone says. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this for 3 minutes and whatever happens, happens. And sometimes on those days when we don't feel like coming into the gym, we're not feeling real strong, we're not feeling real rested, we've got a million things to do and stressed out, we end up hitting a personal record. It's very common for that to happen. So anyways, there's a lot of cool reasons why to do timed sets, even on something that's not typically timed, like something like a bent over row. So I think that's all I'm going to show today. So I know with a lot of these, depending on where you are, I'm throwing a ton of information at you in these videos. And with just the 4 that I put out, you could work on this stuff for a long time. It's enough for programming forever, really. But I'm gonna keep doing more. I have a lot more. It's gonna get deeper into individual techniques and follow along workouts. I think that's what I'll do for next time. I'm not sure, but I think I'll do more of a follow along workout rather than a tutorial. But it's kind of hard to watch a video and do a follow along workout. You can, I mean, it's not hard, but it's hard if you're turning. Like it can be tough if you're moving around in certain ways to pay attention to a video and yourself. So a lot of what I'm trying to do is show you how to do something, then you can like pause the video, practice it yourself. Because if you think of your training as a practice, then you'll be in the right frame of mind basically for gains for a long time, rather than, oh, I wonder how many calories I burned. Or so it's like, okay, I'm going to practice this technique today. You know, and you're not really counting reps, but you're like, okay, I have a half hour till the kids get home. I'm going to practice this for a half hour. Then you don't worry about how many reps you did. You did enough. And if you're at a point where you do want to count those reps, you can. So I will show one other variation, one more thing that I actually meant to do and I forgot. So while we were doing this one, like the different variations of this one and this one, when you're in that clean position, you can do that too. Lightly touch the knee. Okay. You can do it as a squat. The squat's kind of you have to change your feet. But if you're paying attention, you can do it right. So notice I don't have my, so if you heard my breath straining and now you don't. So now if I start to talk, you can hear my breath straining. So one thing that kettlebells are good for is like for grapplers. So this weight is going into my ribs. So when you're a grappler, it's important to be able to breathe when someone is on top of you trying to squeeze you. So you hear my breath is strained. I'm not trying to exaggerate it. Okay, see that's different? That's a lot easier. So which one do you want to do? I would say know how to do both. But so from the clean position, all right, you can do that one. So you can get your legs good, because your legs are working in this one anyway. So anytime you're doing anything, standing up, your legs are working. So what is the position of your legs? Your feet, your knees, your hips, your hip relationship to your shoulders, which will tell you like where your spine is oftentimes. So from this side, clean. So when I'm doing my squats, I don't do my squats from this position. That's pretty weird. I do my squats this way, okay? So I've moved my feet like that so you can see the difference here. So from this clean, all right, so my heel went back to clean and rack position. And then my heel's gonna come back up as I touch back down. Knee goes forward, and then kettlebell. All right? I meant to add that, glad I remember that. So you have the split squat with the kettlebell down. Same thing, 2 kettlebells. 1 bell, the knees are pointed away from each other. Like, I think you can see these ankles pretty well. Make sure the knees come out. If my foot is out at this angle, don't come in here with your knee like that. You'll hurt your knee. Knees above the ankle. 1 arm kettlebell like this way. 2 kettlebells this way. Heel stays up. Really working the front leg. And then 2 kettlebells this way. Kettlebells stay down. You want to keep the shoulders and hips in line. Again, watch that knee angle. Knees over the shoulders. Knees over the shoulders. Knees over the ankles. If your knees are over your shoulders, you probably did something wrong. So again, thanks everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this, you paid for it. I know I just asked for $5 a month, but it means a lot that people just want to do it. And the numbers that are coming in are, it's really humbling, and I'll make this the greatest source for kettlebell training on the planet.